Hello and welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me. I'm up in my studio today. I have a very special guest. Now, the video is in two bits. There's part one, effectively, which is a sort of history of where we are and why we are where we are, and why Bitcoin, as a solution from a money point of view, could be an answer to get out of a lot of the troubles. So I've split this video because A, it's very long, and the first half, because I'm just a bit nervous about the terms and conditions on YouTube, is actually on Rumble, and that will be over on Rumble. It may not be there immediately. I know Rumble takes a little bit of time, so don't panic if you can't find that. It doesn't really matter, because this half of the video is more about Bitcoin, what it is, how it works, and why it could be an alternative when we're coming into a financial collapse. Now, it's a bit complicated, and to be honest with you, I did struggle to fully understand what it is. So this isn't a beginner's guide to it. It is more like an idiot trying to understand it, if you see what I mean. And my guest, who is anonymous, we've just called him Bishop for the sake of argument, and you'll see why in the thing. So this will just go straight into part of that conversation until the end of the video. And then if you want to go to Rumble, I'll put the link back to the other one. You may have to come back a little later on, because I know sometimes it takes like 24 hours for the video to get up on Rumble if you've been very eager to get on YouTube as soon as I've published this. So we're going into the conversation in which I'm talking to Bishop about what Bitcoin is and its usefulness. And I hope that this is of some interest to the viewers. And thank you for watching.
Bitcoin is digital, and digital data is just simply bits of light. It is light energy. So the most efficient or the most valuable use of energy is turning effectively free energy into a commodity, which is now light, which is digital. So my point is, the way you commoditize data is this. So first of all, the starting point of the network has to be common. And this is why the white paper was released on the 31st of October 2008. But the network wasn't started until the 3rd of January 2009. And that's because the author of the white paper knew that he had to provide or create a common opportunity for anyone and everyone to start the network themselves in order for it to be classified as a commodity. And then after that, he had to use a pseudonym, because in order for it to be a commodity, the network has to grow organically without any central point of authority, control, or influence. Now, because a commodity network doesn't have a central point of authority or control, it means that it's vulnerable. And so he knew that while he was away and the network was growing organically and the starting point was being diluted by economic competition over a period of time, he knew that the powers that be that have done all this would probably try and find a way to corrupt or make this data securitize it. So in other words, turn it from a commodity which has got economic value into a security that literally has no economic value because it's centrally controlled. And one of the ways that you make a digital network common is by ensuring there is common accountability. And this is done through a chain of digital signatures, which holds everybody commonly accountable. So all they did is they segregated the digital signatures from the transaction data on the network. And it means that when you're receiving a transaction, there is no signature attached to it, so you can't tell who sent it, and the person who sent it can't prove that you've received it either. So you're receiving nothing more than numbers on a screen. I can see you're looking a bit confused, but Bitcoin is just simply a non-fungible token. So in other words, a unique token that doesn't have any replication of it. So if you can produce a common data network that produces an NFT data that is fixed in supply and effectively infinitely divisible, you can use that as a medium of exchange.
Right. So I know that some people will be listening to you and completely understand what you're getting at, whereas I have just gone through hula hoops here thinking, what the hell is he talking about? So here's perhaps a typical layman's version of what you've just said that I have no idea whether any of this is true. So I would think that a lot of people who have heard the term Bitcoin, who have no idea really what it is, thinks that it is something that's created out of nothing, like ones and zeros, because that to me is what digital is. I'm not sure how the light bit comes in, because it's all on a computer on a chip, and there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no light sensor sort of grabbing bits of light. So I'm not quite sure on that, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So you've got ones and zeros that presumably is generated, that there is some form of protection on it so that, as you said, you can make a unique piece of ones and zeros, that there is only this one in existence, which I suppose a bit like an encrypted message on WhatsApp, that it's encrypted at both ends so that it becomes a unique thing. And I'm not quite sure what this blockchain is that I've heard. So it always sounds like there's something wrong with the lavatory when you talk about that. But anyway, but my problem and my fear with it is that it is not anything you can touch or pick up with your hand. Now, I know that you've said with the notes in my back pocket, which is fiat money, which is only I forget your term now. Here's a £5
security
note. A security, and it says on it, I promise to pay the bearer of, and presumably in theory you should be able to go to the bank and say, well, pay me then the £5 of whatever money is existing in, don't just give me another note. But at least this is something physical that people have, even if it's only a mental idea that it is worth something. You see a note lying on the floor and you think, yeah, this is better than... Because somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody said to me that a blank piece of paper has more value because you could actually draw a picture on it if you were Banksy and sell it, whereas this has already got a picture on it and someone might have one in their pocket and go, well, I've got the same picture, it's not worth anything now. So if it's just something that is kind of, ones and zeros that somebody's generated, surely you can just keep printing more of these at will. And does that not have the same inflatory problem that you have if you're just printing money? If somebody can just go, here, I'll give you some ones and zeros, mate. 111110000. There you go. There's a whole load of them. You should understand that a lot of people like me are going to be completely ignorant on this system.
All right. Okay. So just talk about the £5 that you drew out of your wallet then. So the case. So are you familiar with the event called the Nixon shock that happened on the 15th of August 1971?
I'm as thick as a piece of wood.
That's all right. So you know how I said when they stole all the gold, they said, by the way, we've got all the gold, so therefore your currency is going to be backed by our currency. On the 15th of August 1971, Richard Nixon said, yeah, we promised you all that gold. You're not getting it. And the moment that happened, all currency that was involved in the Bretton Woods agreements immediately became securities fraud because it wasn't backed by anything of value. There was no asset backing it. And in case law, and again, your listeners and maybe yourself should look into this one. The case law that defines fiat currency as securities fraud is that of the SEC versus W.J. Howico, 1946.
Okay,
and that's what people need to look at. So that covers.
See, there's so many things here, and I know we could go on and on, but so I don't understand. You say it's fraud, but I mean, if people give something intrinsic value, they're giving a piece of paper that's printed on that is difficult to copy an intrinsic value. It doesn't seem to me to make much difference if it has any value or not, as long as people are trusting that bit of paper is on the right bit of paper with the right bit of silver on. It's got a picture of the Queen or soon to have a king, whatever it is, provided that you can't just keep making tons of them, which is what your mysterious people in the back room with smoke and mirrors are doing. You're just printing and doing. So even if it has nothing on the back of it, it's kind of it's become its own unique thing. A £5 note now represents its own value. Yeah.
Well, so again, this is where deception comes into play. So because they didn't want people calling it securities fraud, they gave it a new name. They called it fiat currency.
Right. After what? Fiat car or something?
Fiat is Latin for let it be.
Let it be.
Believe.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So go back to this coin then, the
Yeah.
Bitcoin. The
Okay.
you know, so are you saying that Bitcoin is the solution out of it because it's out of their system? Is that where we're getting to? Is that the thing?
So what the Bitcoin network does is it provides us with digital sovereignty. So when you upload your digital information onto the Bitcoin network, let's say if it's a song or a book or a movie or a podcast or your precious family photos or anything like that, when you upload it, because the network doesn't have a central point of authority, control, or failure, you control it, and nobody else can see it. And because you control it, if you want to, you can sell it.
Hang on a minute, I'm a bit confused. What's it, you're talking about uploading photos and
Yeah.
thing? What, I don't understand that. I thought we were talking about an alternative money.
Yeah. So
just-
so
What does the uploading photos onto your money? I don't get that.
okay, so let's talk about this, how it's created. If you imagine I presume you've probably heard of El Dorado, have you? You know, the mountain that was full of gold or silver.
right, yeah.
Well, imagine the Bitcoin network being that mountain, but instead of being a mountain, it's a computer program, and
Right.
that computer program has a fixed amount of Bitcoin in it, just like the mountain has got a fixed amount of gold in it.
Right.
You know, and people are then trying to extract as much gold as they can from the mountain. You get as much of it before anyone else can. It's the same with the Bitcoin program. You're trying to extract as much Bitcoin from it as possible. And the reason Bitcoin has got value is because you pay for the upload of your data onto the Bitcoin network by paying for it with Bitcoin. So you initially extract Bitcoin from the program and then pay for the upload of your data with it.
It's just that last bit. So I don't really get this. So I've got £10 in the bank, and I want to transform that into £10 of Bitcoin, whatever that equivalent is. This business about I upload some data and then I pay for this data that is that like the cloud? Are we talking about like the cloud where I upload my videos and like, because you mentioned photos and things, like you're uploading digital stuff and you're so I'm still confused about that bit, because that seems to be a completely separate thing with what you do with your money, as opposed to just try. So you've got £10 or £100 and you go, I don't want to have it in fiat currency, I want to have it into Bitcoin. And I know that you can get a wallet which is effectively on your phone, and so you've got money in form of Bitcoin. I get that bit. That's the easy bit to understand. I don't really understand why photos and videos, or what's that got to do with anything?
Because it's like this: if something is useful, it's valuable. If something is useless, it's worthless. So for something to have a value, it has to have a use case. And the use case of Bitcoin is immutable sovereign data. So let's say if you're let's take a payment processor like Visa or MasterCard or central bank or whatever. What they can't afford, or let's say if you're one of these tech companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, what you cannot afford is for your customers' digital data to be deleted. So imagine like somebody uploads a photograph onto Facebook, and and their servers get hacked, and that photo is deleted. They're going to lose confidence in the services that Facebook provides. So they're paranoid about keeping their data safe. Now,
who are paranoid?
Facebook.
Right. Yes. Okay.
If you've uploaded your picture onto their server and they
lose it.
Yeah.
They're losing confidence. Yeah, I get that.
People aren't going to use it. Well, imagine now you're a bank. Imagine now you're a bank that makes an electronic transfer, and that electronic transfer, the data is lost or deleted. People just simply wouldn't use your service ever. They wouldn't bank with you. Plus the fact the director of the bank, you would be on the chopping block.
Yes.
Heads would roll.
Yes.
People would lose their jobs and all that. So these corporations are paranoid about keeping their data safe. Now, they spend millions, if not billions of dollars on securing and storing their data, protecting it from cybersecurity hacks and virus software. Whereas now, all that data, all of it, the whole lot, can be uploaded onto the Bitcoin network for the cost of a micropayment. where blockchain technology ensures that it's no longer susceptible to virus software or cybersecurity hacks, and it's completely private because it's protected by SHA-256. So you've got data now that can't be deleted. And if it can't be deleted, it means you own it. And if you own it, you control it. And it means nobody else can see it. And this is what the New World Order don't want. Because what they're doing, I mean, when we said earlier, we're talking about all these high definition facial recognition cameras and number plates recognition cameras are going up. What they're doing is they're eventually storing our data, finding out where we go, what we're spending our money on, who our friends are. It's control of data. Now, if we just simply start using the Bitcoin network for everything as private individuals, suddenly they can't see us or have any control over us.
They can still use their biometric cameras, though, can't they?
Well, yeah, but what if? So let's say, for example, again, this is related. So at the moment, we have cars that are described as vehicles. They describe us as the driver of those vehicles, and we are the registered keeper. Yeah. Whereas what it should be is that they are automobiles where we are traveling in, and they should be our own private conveyance. So the way they track us is because they effectively own the vehicle, and the reason they own the vehicle is because we register it with them with a number plate, which is on their centralized systems. So we're going round there with a massive advertising plate on our cars that their cameras are picking up, going, oh, we can now see where they're traveling.
Yes, I get that. I mean, I understand that. I get that bit, of course. But just me buying Bitcoin will not stop them from looking at my number plate and tracking where I am.
Well, yeah. But what I'm saying is everything comes down to the control of money. So the government can only survive through the collection of taxes. Now, if the government is in bed with the bank and the bank can coerce us into paying and saying, actually, you don't have a choice here, because, we've got the military and all the force on our side. Whereas if we're using a commodity money that doesn't have any central point of authority or control, suddenly the government has to beg us for it. They can't confiscate it from us because it's not material, it's not tangible, but it's on a ledger. And they're just like, well, actually, can we have some of that money? It is, well, you haven't actually provided the services that I was asking for. So unless you do the service that I'm asking for, I'm not going to pay you.
Right. Okay. So I'm sort of half. I'm. People are going to think I'm really slow at this, and I clearly I am, because I'm very much in the old-fashioned way, and so this is all very, very alien to me. But let me just try and understand it. So you've got this alternative money called Bitcoin, and if everybody starts using Bitcoin, then the government can't just they can't get the Bitcoin from you. But they can still send you an invoice and say, well, there's your tax demand, and if you don't give us Bitcoin worth of money, like you would in the old way, we'll still put you in prison.
Well, yeah, but again, so a Bill of Rights, I can't remember what the date is, 18 something or other. No fine or forfeiture without conviction of a jury of peers. And so if they send you an invoice, you say, well, where's my contract? Have I agreed to this?
Okay. So there seems to be there's some sort of crossover here from what I understand. You're talking about common law, natural law, constitution, Bill of Rights, all of that.
Yeah.
And then there's this electronic money that somehow is married to that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So so I'm just trying to get this in my head, because the thing is, I will repeat this again. You know this intimately, and I'm just trying to sort of interpret, because there's going to be people looking who will be as thick as me. I'm absolutely sure, who'll be going, I don't understand. I go to the greengrocer, I give them £10, they give me the greengrocers I bought and the change, and that's their understanding of money. So there's a huge leap into what you're discussing, and because we've been dumbed down, we've not been thought, we've not had critical thinking and all of the rest of it. So now you've introduced common law, which I didn't expect the conversation to go into. Which is an area of interest of mine personally, because we are working within acts and statutes which sits on common law but is not part of common law. It's a separate entity, and and now we're talking about how this digital money is going in there. But so
Yeah. So I'll just add to that quickly. So hold that thought.
yeah,
So common law is common sense in society.
yes,
Commodities are common sense in economics.
okay. That's nice statements. But the thing is, we're living in a practical world in which governments work with acts and statutes. Common law is what the people have. The people put the government into place. The government are taking advantage of the fact that they can make laws and statutes. Nobody should vote for them.
Yeah.
They shouldn't vote for, these are sort of, very, very simple basics. And we should have a different money system that the government don't control. Well, anyway, we know that it's a privately, the government don't control it because it's actually owned by the Bank of England.
They're in bed with the banks, but I'll tell you what's really important about this conversation that we're having. It's like this. This is what's important about money. Yeah, we either have a common money used by the people to create government that works for the people, or government will create money to control the people.
Right.
They are the only options that we've got.
So we were talking in the show yesterday about the Bradbury pound, which is not digital. It's it's a sort of promissory note, but it's based on the value of the people, and it's a crediting system rather than a debt system, because it's based on the amount of credit. So if you work harder, it works. If you work harder and all the rest of it, it becomes more worth the more you make and manufacture and blah blah blah. But it's something that cannot be affected, I see, because the problem with the Bitcoin thing comes down to the fact that he who controls the electricity controls your ability to charge your phone or use something which is not a physical thing. It's a digital thing. If you had a solar wave and it hit out all the grid and you wouldn't be able to spend any money, you wouldn't be able to spend the money. But at least if you've got shiny pebbles or notes of some description, you can still use them. That's my worry. And if the government insist on and push digital IDs to the point that you can't log on to the internet without putting in your digital ID, which they control, they can then control you from getting to your Bitcoin wallet.
See, so this is why we need to start using the Bitcoin network, because the Bitcoin network is completely separate to the internet. So the internet is a group of interconnected corporate servers. Bitcoin is a group of what? It's a I suppose a group of globally distributed, economically competitive nodes. So if one node goes down, it actually benefits another node.
Oh, okay. So in other words, it's like having a phone, but it's not a phone. It's a Bitcoin computer wallet, whatever you want to call it, and it can be on your phone, but it could be a completely separate device that has no connection with Wi-Fi and the internet, but it would connect to these nodes on a separate system.
Yeah, it could do that. Yeah, you can do that.
I'm just trying to sort of show where the security is for if say I've got savings of, I don't know, say I've got £1 million, which unfortunately I haven't. But if I did, I'd be incredibly worried at this moment in time that there's all going to disappear anyway when it goes to central digital currencies. But say you've got significant savings of whatever sum, it doesn't really matter. And you're thinking, what the hell do I do with this money? Because it looks like the banks are going to take it from me anyway by their central bank digital currency and then program it so that you can't travel where you want to. Or indeed, they say, well, actually, you've got to spend it by the end of the month or we take it away. And you go, well, how am I supposed to spend that? Whatever it is. So that they keep you enslaved. I get all of that, and that makes perfect sense. So from simplistic things is you would have if you had a separate device which wasn't connected to the internet, nobody else could hack into it, that basically was like a leather wallet that was connected to the nodes, not the internet, not all this other stuff, so it's completely separate, which you have, so nobody else can control the Bitcoin, your money. People would be incredibly happier with that. because it doesn't matter what they do with if they could turn, as long as you could power this up, which you could if it was solar panel, just put it in the sunshine, you would be independent. Your money, you would be independent, and you could then use that wherever you like, and no one could control how much you have, how much you spend.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, in a nutshell.
And that, if so, in other words, if people were to start using the Bitcoin now, those sort of things could come quite quickly, because somebody would think, well, actually, let's manufacture just a independent gadget, which isn't a phone, which doesn't do anything. It purely does this one task, so that if anyone hacks into your phone because you're connected to the internet and all of those sort of things, and Google can spy on you and the microphone spy. Whereas if you just have this one thing, a manufacturer might design something like that you go, yeah, I'll have that, thanks very much, and you buy it and you log on to your code and whatever it is, and there it is. That's your Bitcoin 100%, and you're on the network.
Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly what I'm hoping will happen in the future, because you can make phone calls over the Bitcoin network. You can send emails over the Bitcoin network. The Bitcoin network
because they're computers, basically.
Yeah,
because
it's
a data service.
Yeah. Effectively, all it is a globally distributed set of economically competitive servers.
Right. Okay. I'm finally getting it, because when you first said, "Oh, upload your pictures and all the rest of it," I didn't quite get what you meant. You're saying it's kind of like its own internet of linked up computers, but independent and safer and secure.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you said something about if one goes down, it doesn't matter because another one can pop up somewhere else.
Yeah, because they're economically competitive. What they do is they compete to process your transaction. So what happens is that when you're using the network, like I said, as in the same way that you would use the internet, and the reason you would use it is because if you're a content creator like yourself, you can now sell your own data because you own your data. Whereas at the moment, what you're doing is you're uploading it onto the likes of YouTube or Google or Amazon Web Services on a centralized server, and therefore you're surrendering that data to the corporation that owns that server, and they then sell your information and make money from it that way. Whereas if you upload your data onto the Bitcoin network, one, you pay for it by using Bitcoin, which is what economically sustains the miners, and then you can profit from that by selling it if you've created something of value. So it's like, imagine an internet now, instead of being full of people doing stupid dances and talking crap, basically. If you're actually creating content that people find valuable, they will pay you for that content, and you deserve it because you're the creator.
Well, I certainly deserve it, of course.
Rather than sort of like YouTube making millions, if not billions, of dollars from your content and then paying you a pittance based on advertising revenue, you can now actually sell your own content.
Right. Okay. So, sorry, this has taken me a little bit of a slow burn to comprehend what you're meaning, but I'm getting a better understanding of it now. I suppose the biggest thing is it is safe to. And you can just. I mean, I've never touched it, so I don't really understand it. So you could go to your bank. And you could test it out, presumably. You could say, okay, I'll put 50 quid into a Bitcoin setup, and once you've set it up, that's it. You could test it. And can you go into the high street and buy things with it?
Oh, well, so this is it. In the future, everybody will be economically incentivized to accept it as a medium of exchange.
Right.
Because fiat currency being excessively printed goes down and down in value. Yeah. And if you're a small business, if you're using a medium of exchange to conduct your business, and that medium of exchange is going down in value, unless you can increase your prices in line with inflation or reduce your overheads in line with inflation, you're constantly fighting an uphill battle to stay profitable and in business. Whereas if you're using an asset as a medium of exchange that is appreciating in value because it's divided rather than inflated, it means that you can actually stay profitable and in business, and small businesses can then survive and thrive, which is what they don't want.
Yeah. Okay. So my question was, can I go into the high street and buy things with it?
If you can find somebody to accept it, yeah.
Right. So that would be, I mean, that's one of the problems if you're going to do your weekly shopping and nobody will take your Bitcoins, you're a bit stuffed. But you're saying as time goes on, more and more people are likely to, because they'd be incentivized to do it, because for the reasons you've just described about not wanting your prices or your profit margin to drop because you're continually having to compete.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why the powers that be have tried to, again, hoodwink people by saying that, oh, it can't scale and it's useless and it's slow and it's clunky and it's expensive. Absolute hogwash. Absolute hogwash.
Right. I've heard that there are 3 versions of Bitcoin, but one is the true version. Is that right?
That's correct.
How do you know that you're buying the right version?
Yes. So all that's happened is that Bitcoin was first created as a commodity with these 5 elements in place. So in the same way that gold has elements that make it gold and silver has elements that make it silver,
Yeah.
data can only be commoditized one way, which means there will be only one digital commodity. So first of all, it has to have a fixed supply of tokens, because if the supply can either be increased or decreased, it means there's a central point of control that's doing it. So you eradicate that central point of control by fixing the supply. Secondly, you lock the protocol. Now, the protocol is the rule set. So just like houses are built on foundations, digital networks are built on protocols.
Okay.
Now, if that is locked, it means that no one can change it, no one controls it, and it's permissionless to build on.
Right.
So that's the second element. The third one is there has to be unbounded scale so that limitations and restrictions cannot be manufactured, and therefore the network cannot be manipulated.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Fourthly, there has to be economic competition. Like I said, if a network is not economically competitive, you simply get collusion and centralization. So it has to use a digitally competitive process called proof of work. And then last of all, there has to be common accountability so that no one could do anything on the network that nobody else would know about. And that is done through a chain of digital signatures. And I'll just give you you and your viewers the definition of the different, or metaphor to explain the difference between anonymity and privacy. So anonymity is what you would seek if you were in the toilet cubicle. No one knows you're in there. You can do your business, and no one knows what you've done. So you're accountable to no one.
Unless they've got a good nose.
Whereas privacy is what you and your partner would seek behind the bedroom door. You can both identify each other, you can both engage with each other, but no third party can see, hear, or interfere. But if a dispute arises between you that you can't resolve yourselves, you can then present the evidence to a third party who can then resolve the dispute for you. That's what privacy is. And so anonymous networks are economically worthless because they are centrally controlled, because whoever it is that's controlling them is accountable to no one. Whereas a private network has common accountability amongst all of its users.
You said the first one was that there had to be a fixed number of these coins.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody can get rich on this if there's a fixed number of these coins. I'm not saying that people want to get rich necessarily, but no one could, surely someone could accrue all the coins then, and then you're impoverishing everybody else, aren't you?
Well, this is it. So even if you've got all the coins, so if nobody can get any more coins, what you are incentivized to do is add value to those coins. And the way you add value is by encouraging other people to come in and start using it. And if nobody can use it because you've got all the coins, then it becomes economically worthless. So there's a balance here. You want to encourage people in, and the way you encourage people in is by showing them how to use it. And then you sell them. If you're a miner, you would then sell the Bitcoin to somebody who wanted to buy it in order to use it.
When you say a miner, do you mean under 18 or?
Oh, sorry. I meant a Bitcoin miner. So you have a number of servers that extracts Bitcoin from its computer program in the way that gold miners extract gold from El Dorado.
Okay, that bit's a bit confusing. Okay, but then the whole thing is rather confusing for a simple-minded nut like me. So are you so to use Bitcoin? You've got £10 in the bank in fiat currency. Where do you go to buy or to transfer your pounds and pennies into Bitcoin?
So you can either go directly to an exchange because Bitcoin miners sell their coins wholesale to exchanges, and then exchanges pass them on to retail. You can either, or you can go through a broker who
Okay.
will do a trade for you, or you can sometimes buy it directly through a wallet that might have an agreement with an exchange that enables you to purchase Bitcoin through its wallet.
Right. So there's still a bit of a, it's not like getting a bit. It's not like in the old days when you used to get pesetas. What are they, pesetas? I can't even remember. Other currency or francs or Deutschmarks. In the old day, and you just go to the Bureau d'Exchange and say, "Have you got any those French coins? I'm so fancy, please."
Well, you would go to a broker. So you
Right.
go to a crypto broker.
A crypto broker and say the same. You don't have to have the crazy French accent if that's what it was. I would like to have some of those lovely, sexy Bitcoins, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I can actually give you a link to a brokerage service in the description to this video if it goes out.
Okay. Yeah, no, do. That would be good. Great. All right. Well, listen, we've done quite a long time.
Yeah, we've done well, haven't we?
We have. With a lot of deep state history in the first part, and in the second part, we've understood a bit about what Bitcoins is. How urgent is it for us to get onto this network, then, in your opinion?
Yeah, very. It is a race against time, which is why the powers that be have suddenly started moving so fast. So if we go back to Rockefeller's Secret Covenant that you did a show on the other day, he said drop by drop, we will advance our goal. We will move slowly, to not draw suspicion to ourselves. So why are they suddenly speeding up? Well, the reason they're speeding their dastardly plan up is because if we start using Bitcoin and not accepting their securities fraud, which is fiat currency, they have no power over us. And not only that, if we start using Bitcoin, we have sovereignty over our data because suddenly we are not on their centralized databases anymore.
So basically, the message of this video is that here is an alternative currency which is sovereign.
Well, it's money. So again, difference between currency and money.
Yeah, okay. So let me rephrase that, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, what we have, the message of this video is that we have an alternative money that is sovereign, that other people can't get their hands on. And the more people that switch over to using money as a way to buy things, then shops and services will go, we could make more. We can increase our sales and services and pay our employees and do all nice things by accepting that money, as well as the other old-fashioned money. And then eventually, as more people go over to the independent sovereign money, we don't need that other money that people have had for generations because we're all on this new money. And then more things will, then you can go and get your hair cut. Not that I need one, but people do, or their nails trimmed, or they can go to the supermarket and get a pound of mouldy old potatoes, or whatever it is they want to get. So that the more demand, so that more people are saying, well, do you take Bitcoin? And they go, no, we don't actually, but come back next week because we'll make sure that we do. So in other words, the more people demand it, the more the shops...
check this out. So let's say in order to use the Bitcoin network, you have to get your hands on Bitcoin. So you can either mine it or buy it. Now, if you are a company like Visa or MasterCard, you spend millions, if not billions of dollars on trying to secure your data to make sure that your network doesn't go down. Right now, you can get rid of all of those costs and you can port your entire services onto the Bitcoin network for the cost of a micropayment. So you're buying Bitcoin in order to use it to save yourself millions, if not billions of dollars. But at the same time, it's an asset increasing in value. Right. Imagine the demand for it.
Yes, absolutely. So so that now does begin to, I need to sleep on it, but it will begin to make perfect sense. So yeah, so the message is, so you're going to give me a link to the documentary you made, which was what was that called again?
Silverfish.
Silverfish, and you're going to give me a link to a broker.
Yep.
And now, just for clarity's purposes, are you affiliated to any of these? You're not personally making any cash out of this?
No. I literally, I'm in fear of my life.
Oh, well, sorry.
Because
sorry.
if you watch my Silverfish documentary, you will understand what they've got in store for us and what we are heading for if we do not take action.
Right. Okay. So
I mean, I've got better things to do than, I would rather. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be sat on a beach.
It just goes to show how interesting I am. That's very
I
kind.
do
There
like
we are.
your
Ladies
shows,
and
Richard.
Yeah,
I do like your shows. I do. I actually really enjoy your presentations.
You're very kind. You lie very well, and you stand up also remarkably well. So okay, so that's brilliant. Well, listen, let's bring it to an end, and it would be good to maybe follow this up to do an idiot's guide to it, because I feel like this was quite complicated for somebody who's very, very new, very finds it very difficult to sort of understand more than I'm from the generation where you put money into pots. To pay the milk bill. I mean, in the old, I don't know how old you are, but when I first got the house that I'm in, we used to go to Rumbelows and rent a television. In the old days when you used to rent a television, and go back even further, people used to rent their furniture, for goodness sake, and then if you couldn't afford the rent, they come and take the furniture away. I mean, it is a madness. And now we have sort of cheap and cheerful shops where you can buy furniture today, pay for it next month, and by the time next month comes, it's already collapsed because it's so badly manufactured. But that's another story. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mr. Bishop.
That's all right. Well, just quickly then, before you wrap it up.
Yeah.
So what people need to know is that the authorities are utterly they feel threatened by this digital commodity.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've hoodwinked people. They have changed it to make it economically worthless, but stolen the original ticker symbol. And then another group of developers also did the same. And again, it's all smoke and mirrors. So the Bitcoin that I'm referring to, and again, you're going to get so many calls, with people objecting to what I'm saying here, because again, the powers that be have got a huge network. The Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin, or the original protocol and genuine Bitcoin is now called Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, abbreviated to Bitcoin SV, and has the ticker symbol BSV.
BSV.
Yeah.
BSV. Sounds like a television ident thing, doesn't it?
That's all right.
Anyway,
and one last thing also,
because I think I've seen other versions of that, like BST or something, or what?
Yeah, there's B. Yeah, again, it's just that they're hoodwinking people with the ticker symbol. So because people don't understand what Bitcoin is, what they've done is they've changed the protocol and stolen the ticker symbol, which has taken the market price along with it. Right. But it's economically worthless. So there's BTC, which is currently something like $20,000+. It's economically worthless. There's BCH again, which is like $100, something like that, economically worthless. Whereas
so it doesn't help really, does it? My chair keeps shrinking. There we go.
They've done this on purpose to purposely hoodwink people. And again, the art of tyranny is keeping people ignorant.
Yes,
which is why they're trying to hoodwink and confuse people.
So if people think BSV, it's very easy. It is simply better see Vobes. That's the way of thinking it. Better see Vobes, and he knows the answer. Better see Vobes. BSV. You've got to think on one's feet, But that's it. Yes, brilliant. Okay, so let's see what happens. No doubt I'll get a ton of emails saying, Richard, I don't understand. What's it all about? And please don't send me emails on this because I actually haven't a clue. But I dare say there'll be other people who also can talk about this, and maybe we can get you back. It's a shame we can't see you, but I understand because you're fearing of your life and you're on the run, and you've got a big bag of bitcoins. I don't understand this business with mining the coin, but let's not talk about that. Maybe somebody can sell me a pickaxe somewhere. I can go off and find some in a El Dorado mountain for myself, which would be very interesting.
That's all right. Just one last thing, Richard. Okay. Just quickly.
One more last thing. Go on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So as of I think it's 1st of January 1973, the country of England now no longer officially exists. because we are now under the corporate structure of the United Kingdom, which is a corporation. Whereas there is a movement at the moment to erect the country of England called the Republic of England. And if your viewers want to look into that, it would be great because I'm also involved in that as well.
Wow, right, okay, left us with a bombshell there. But there you go, brilliant. Well, thank you, Bishop, for coming on the show and taking us through all of this. It's been absolutely fascinating. I've got to get my head around it. I shall have to listen again very slowly, play it back on a very slow thing so I can get myself into it. But basically, you're encouraging people to go and involve themselves or find out at the very least Bitcoin. Look out for BSV because that's the best for me. And we'll all hopefully ride the storm and get out of the problems that we are likely to be in if it doesn't happen.
Fingers crossed. It's been a pleasure, Richard. Honestly, really has.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm sorry for interrupting you every 10 seconds as I've tried to understand, but I've also tried to understand it for the purpose of the viewers as well. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. There we go. I bet you didn't expect any of that, but I will be back again for another interview coming up very soon. So thanks for watching and goodbye.